Again, for the well-being of the community, another salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And for all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat, another salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And even louder salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for the hastened reappearance of the Imam Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم به نستعين. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، أرواحنا له فداء. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. First and foremost, I give my condolences to each of you on the occasion which we have come to commemorate, and that was the shahadat of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. And in this occasion, as we are remembering Lady Fatima salamullah alayha, it is important for us not simply to mourn her life, not simply cry for her, which is important to mourn. It is important to cry. But more importantly, we must learn from the life of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, because she is a great example for all of us. In fact, she is a great example for humanity in its entirety. Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, as we know and as we understand, at least as we come to commemorate, that she went through a lot of difficulties in her life, especially that period right after the shahadat or demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was a difficult period for Fatima Zahra. But in that difficult period, again, she teaches us a very valuable lesson. And that lesson is how to live in an atmosphere that is antagonistic. Again, it's easy to, maintain one's faith, maintain one's iman, maintain, again, their diligence on a path. Again, when it's easy, when life is easy, it's okay to, it's very easy to say, okay, well, I'm going to go to the masjid. Or I'm going to do all of these things which, again, my religion requires. But what about when, again, the enemy is surrounding you? What about when they are putting pressure upon you? How do you live in that situation? How do you live in an environment which is, again, suppressing you, or suppressing an individual? Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, again, she teaches us this. But of course, when we look at where Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, that she learned it herself, it was from her father, from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet of Allah delivering the final message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in an environment where people were, for the most part, they were pagans. They didn't want to hear anything about establishing justice, because this is one of the biggest issues that the people of Mecca, they had with the Prophet. Yeah, one was about, again, showing that their idols, again, had really no power. That power is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one of their biggest issues as well is that when you, again, obey the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that one must, again, establish justice. And this is one of the things that they had a big problem with. But nonetheless, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, living in that environment that was not, again, that was hostile against him, and he trained his family as well to live in such a situation. One of those individuals was Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha. And one of the ways that he prepared Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha for that moment, or for that environment, for the test that she would undergo, was again by teaching her dua. Alhamdulillah, we'll start with a dua, and tonight is one of the nights of dua. You recite dua kamel in this night. Among those du'as that the Prophet of Allah, he taught Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayhi, was a du'a to repel oppression, a du'a that if one feared, again, the oppression of a leader, of a tyrant, then these are the du'as that would be recited. And these du'as, is compiled by one of our scholars, and some of these du'as as well, or at least a part of that du'a comes into multiple du'as, but again, you can recite them all together. One of those phrases in that du'a to, repel oppression or kaid. I will explain what this kaid is, because it's important to understand what is kaid. That is mentioned several times in the Quran, but also in several du'as. For example, even in Dua Kamil, which one would recite tonight, there's a section where in that dua you say, Allahumma wa man aradni bisu'in fa'arid, wa man kadni fakid. So, oh Allah, that individual who intends to harm me, then Allah, return that harm back to that individual. Wa man kadni fakid. That person who plots against me, then turn that plot back upon them. So this dua, or these du'as that the Prophet, he taught Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, one of them, it goes this way. It says, Allahumma wa a'da'i wa man kadini in ataw barran fajabbin shaji'ahum. So, oh Allah, basically, she said, oh Allah, again, you see me and you see my enemies. You understand these individuals. And again, this is very important when we look at the life of Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, that the Prophet of Allah is teaching her such a dua, showing that, again, the life of Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, the most beloved daughter of Rasulullah, that there will come a day when she would, again, be under oppression. She would be or live in a moment in which her rights are not observed. SubhanAllah, is very important because, again, through the du'as, and I've said this in other speeches as well, that on one hand, du'as are a means of connecting us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also it is a very important means by which we learn the method or the seerah, the life of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdal salatu. So she says, "Oh Allah, you see me and you see my enemies. وَمَنْ كَادِنِي, and those individuals who plot against me, who want or desire harm for me, oh Allah, you see them. وَإِنْ أَتَوْا بَرًّا, this is a very interesting word, إِنْ أَتَوْا بَرًّا, meaning that if they came to a land. This could be one of the meanings. وَإِنْ أَتَى بَرًّا. Also, it can mean that if they've come to, again, overcome or to take control of something. So if they come in this manner, in this fashion, to, again, to overwhelm me, to take control of that which belongs to me, then she says, فَجَبِّن شَجِيعَهُمْ. Shaji comes from the root of shuja, brave. But it is a superlative attribute where it means that someone who is not just brave, but they're extremely brave or extremely bold. So Allah, that individual who comes to, again, to take my rights, to overwhelm me, to plot against me, that Allah make the boldest among them cowards. Make the boldest, or the ones that think that they are the most strongest, make them cowards. Strike fear in their hearts. This is one of the du'as that Fatima Zahra she made, that she was taught by Rasulullah. Another du'a, similar, it says, Allahumma kfini hasad al-hasidin wa baghi al-baghin wa kayd al-kafirin. To Allah, suffice me, or again, remove from me the jealousy of those who are jealous against me. Remove from me the oppression of those who try to oppress me. And oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, protect me from, again, the plots of those who plot against me, those who disbelieve. And then a final dua as well. She doesn't use the word kayd, but again, it comes in the same meaning. Allahumma hrusni bi'aynika allati la tanam wa ruknika alladhi la yuram. Oh Allah, protect me by your sight or by your oversight, by your, again, your sight or your eyes, which don't sleep. A protection that never leaves me. And support me with a support that, again, is never lacking. So these are the du'as of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha that were taught to her by Rasulullah. There are some others which we will, again, get to later as well. But nonetheless, what we see in these du'as, or at least the shared and common theme of these du'as, is that she is seeking protection from kayd al-kafirin, or kayd al-shaytan. So what is kayd? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He employs this word several times in the Quran, which we will again indicate as well. Kayd, according to, again, our scholars, especially those who are versed in linguistics and language, to plot against someone, to deliberate against someone. They said this kayd, he has three conditions that it must meet. There are three aspects of this kayd that must be met in order for it to be considered kayd. The first thing, as kayd, in one of its meanings, it means tafkir, to think, to deliberate, to sit and to also manage. Kayd also means tadbir. So the first thing that has to happen is that a group of individuals, or even one individual, If he is intending to plot against another individual, is that they have to sit and they have to think about what they want to do. In other words, they're creating a strategy. They're creating a plan. It's not something that comes about haphazardly. No, they're again thinking about what they want to do and how the best to do that. So that's one thing. The second thing, in order for an action or in order for that kaid to actually come about, is that strategy and that plan that they put in place, they have to act upon it. It's not sufficient that they say, oh, well, we made this plan to do this, X, Y, and Z, but it never came to fruition. They never did anything. They never acted upon anything. So it has to be backed, so that plan has to be backed with action. The third thing that kaid has to have, that plotting must have, is what it is intending. And what it is intending is dharar, harm. So one is planning to manage, to act against someone in order to, again, do harm to them, or to do harm to their property, or do harm to whatever they possess, whatever their plan is. It's not to do something that's good, but it is something that will affect another individual in a negative way. This is what kaid is. We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in several places, He mentions kaid. So we want to know if this is kaid, to plot and to scheme against someone, and not simply to leave it as a plot or a scheme, to act upon it, and it will intend harm. One of those things that we see, at least in the life of Fatima, I'll say this before we go to the Quran, examine that who are those individuals who plot and scheme in the Quran. With regards to Fatima Zahra, sallallahu alayha, one of those things that was plotted against her was the taking of falak. Not only was it simply something that was thought of, it was acted upon, and then there was some harm in it. And we'll discuss those things in these next few nights. So I am just simply giving you kind of a background and a subject of what we'll be speaking about. Because I know tomorrow is maybe a school day and also a work day, so we don't want to keep you too long. Just, again, give you an overview of what we're going to speak about. Salawat. So in the Quran, one of those beings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks about, that plots and plans and schemes, is shaitan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states in Surah An-Nisa, verse 76, He says, Inna kayda shaitan kana da'if. He says, the scheme and the plot of shaitan is da'if, is weak. And of course we know that shaitan, one of the biggest schemes and plots that he had, he says, oh Allah, he says, just as you've misguided me, he says, I'm going to sit on your path, and every one of your creation of Ibn Adam, I'm going to misguide them. As according to shaitan, he says, as you have misguided me, I'm going to sit on that path, and I'm going to misguide everyone. He's plotting. He plotted. He schemed. He's planning. And he acts upon that plan with waswas in different ways. And what is intended? He's intending harm. To take the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala off that path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So shaitan is one of those individuals, or one of those beings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ascribes kaid to, plotting and planning. Another is those who disbelieve. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states in Surah Al-Anfal, this chapter 8 of the Quran, verse 18, He says, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ مُوهِنُ كَيْدِ الْكَافِرِينَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He weakens. And we'll go back and explain all of this. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why does He say that the kaid of shaitan is weak? Why does he say in this verse that he is the one who makes weak the kaid and the plot and the schemes of those who disbelieve? So the disbelievers are another being, a group of people who scheme and who plot, who intend harm. In the Surah Yusuf, this is one of those surahs that we find that multiple schemers, multiple people plotting. And if we read this, again, from the beginning to the end, we see that, there are a lot of different plots. There are a lot of different schemes that are going on. In Surah Yusuf, one of the first places that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he points to this is with regards to the brothers of Yusuf. So those who are, the brothers who are jealous against Yusuf. And this is in verse 5 of Surah Yusuf. So 12, verse 5. Where Yaqub, he's speaking with Yusuf, and Yusuf tells him that he has this dream. And so Yaqub, he tells him, his brother, he says, that don't tell your brothers this dream. فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He says, if you tell them this dream, you share this dream with your brothers, surely they're going to plot against you. And not just any plot. Surely they're going to plot a severe plot against you. يَكِيدُ كَيْدًا. Emphasis on their plot and their scheme. And we know the story. No need for me to reiterate it here. The second place in verse 50 of Surah Yusuf, where Yusuf, again, the women, they were plotting. Again, there was one plot by Zuleika, and she brought Yusuf among the other women, and they cut their hand, and they were plotting against Yusuf. And what did he say? He says, Inna Rabbi likaydihinna alim. That my Lord, he knows their plot. He knows what they're scheming. He knows what they're cooking up. And of course, Yusuf was like, you know what? I'd rather go to jail. I'd rather them put me into prison to fall in the trap of their plot and their scheme. The other place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he uses this word, kaid, or he talks about the plotting, again, in Surah Yusuf, in verse 52. And this is after Yusuf, he had risen to his power, his status, and then his brothers, they return with his other brother, his, you can say, brother by not only father and mother, Binyamin. And again, he knows that their intention is not good. So in that scenario, what is going on, he makes a statement, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَحْيِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. Those who are betrayers, those who are traitors, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will not, again, guide the traitors. Their schemes and their plots will be misguided. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states about the schemers. And so we're kind of running short on time. One other place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions kaid. And one of the, or at least as if we read it literally, it says that individual plots, but it needs more understanding, more reflection to understand exactly what that is, and we'll, tomorrow night or the nights, we'll explain what that is. And this is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. For example, in Surah Tariq, where he says, Surah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا, meaning those who disbelieve, again, they're going to plot and they're going to scheme. And he tells the Prophet, وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا. And I also plot, if we are translating it literally, and I also plot, I also scheme. إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. And give them respect. Let them have their leisure for now. Also in Surah Al-A'raf and Surah Al-Qalam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also ascribes kaid to himself, where he says, both verses are the same, so Surah Al-Qalam 68:45 and Surah Al-A'raf, chapter 7 of the Quran, 183, right? He says the exact same words. He says, وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. He says, I will give them respite, meaning those who disbelieve, those who are tyrants. He says, I'll give them respite. He says, but my kaid, my planning is greater, is stronger. And we'll explain exactly what that is in our later speeches. But in any case, that if we understand this idea and this concept of kaid and plotting, especially as it comes from those individuals who are intending harm, meaning that their end game or the results that they want to see, that when they plot and they scheme, and of course as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He shows in the Quran, they're plotting and scheming against whom? Against the believers. And what do they intend? What is the results they want to see? They want to see harm. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He, again, as He says, is that plot, that scheme is weak. They have a plan. Allah says, but I have a plan, and my plan is stronger. But what exactly is that plan? And what is, again, the believer's role in that plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it that we sit back and we just leave everything up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Oh, well, cross our hands and well, Allah's going to take care of it. Or no, the believer has a responsibility. And that responsibility is there. The first aspect of that responsibility is what we see the Prophet does. He teaches his dua to Fatima Zahra. When he teaches these du'as to Fatima Zahra and also to Amir al-Mu'mineen, there's one that will come about that we will, again, deliver later. But what is that plan? What is the role of the believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan? The Ahlul Bayt understood this. And they played their part in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. Even Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayhi. Even though she was shahida. Even though, again, the role that she played, it led to her martyrdom. But she played her role. It led to her martyrdom. It led to a point where we see that Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, she was on her deathbed, ill, in pain, and part of that plan that she, or what she put forth, we see that when she called the women of Medina, when they came to the house of Fatima Zahra while she's on her deathbed. And in those moments, she is, again, speaking to them. In those moments, she is warning them. In those moments, she's reminding them of their deen. She's reminding them of what Rasulullah had brought. She was reminding them of their responsibility. And if they did not fill that responsibility, what was their blame in that? She says some words, and subhanAllah, if we focus on these words, understand what is Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha she's saying. She said to them in one of those occasions, she said, لا عذر بعد تعذير ولا أمر بعد تقصير. Other means excuse. She says, there's no excuse or there's no apology that can be offered when it falls short of actually being able to be accepted. Meaning that the folks did not do and fulfill their haqq with regards to the Ahlul Bayt. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that the only compensation for this beautiful message is mawaddata fil qurba. And when that mawaddah has fallen so short of reaching its mark, that the most beloved daughter of Rasulullah is martyred, that she's ill and laying on her deathbed. She says, لا عذر بعد تعذير وَلَا أَمْرَ بَعْدَ تَقَصِيرٍ. And there's nothing that can be done to repair anything at this moment. And as I reflected upon this, we may think that, subhanAllah, perhaps they could have asked Fatima Zahra Salamu alayha to forgive them. She was still on her deathbed, her life had not gone yet. She's still living, breathing. Maybe they can ask her to forgive us. But as I reflected more, yes, it was possible that maybe they could have asked Fatima Zahra Salamu alayha to forgive them. Because you know that as the Prophet of Allah, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is coming from Allah, that He will not forgive the atrocities that one person does to another on the Day of Judgment until that person on the Day of Judgment forgives the person who has harmed them. So yes, Fatima Zahra, she was laying there, she was harmed. But perhaps she was talking about that this action that cannot be returned, this forgiveness that cannot be accepted at this moment, because there was a shaheed before the shaheed. There was a shaheed that was already there, that again, you cannot seek the forgiveness of that shaheed. He had already been martyred in the womb of Fatima Zahra. Muhassin or Muhsin, as that he had been martyred in the womb of Fatima Zahra. That how will you ask forgiveness from Muhsin? Ye saqat hua janeen, Muhsin shaheed ho gayi. This stillborn baby, martyred in the womb of his mother. That baby in which Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, that she had complained about on her deathbed, when she had stated these words, she cried out, Ya abata, Ya abata, Ya Rasul Allah, hakada بحبيبتك وابنتك بدرجة رسول خدا بنگه مردم چکر کردن بحبیب تو بدختر تو. Oh my father, oh Rasulullah, look what the people of Medina, look what they have done to your beloved daughter. Fatima Zahra, she called out to Fitha, she called out, Ya Fitha, فقد والله قتل ما في أحشائي من حماه أي في الزجان أي في الزجان يا مرام دریام که خدا سوگند فرزندم در رحم من کشته شد. Fatima Zahra, she called out to Fitha, oh Fitha, come help me, because the baby in my womb, the baby in my womb has been martyred. Look at what happened in Medina, where we understand that a young baby in the womb of his mother has been martyred in Medina, in the womb, then it is not strange that on the plains of Karbala, when we see Imam Hussein, he brings his young baby onto the battlefield. That those who understand, those who cry for Ali Asghar, and on the day of Ashura, in the beginning of that was in Medina, in the womb of Fatima Zahra. على لعنة الله على قوم ظالمين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون